Hello, everybody. Ken Blackman, episode 94 with the Daily B Show. We're going to be talking about sex and connection. Ken's a sex and connection specialist and coach over in Las Vegas, and I am keen to have a chat about this. Just so we're going to see where it goes, getting a bit of flow, and we'll see what comes up. But no doubt it's going to be a very interesting conversation, and we're going to be triggered, challenged, and have a few laughs along the way as well. So pretty excited, pretty keen, just as I'm sure you are as well. So I'll just wait for him to jump on, and then we will get started. Hey, KT, good to see you. Good to see everybody. So if you guys have any questions along the way as well, feel free to just chuck them in the comments. I can see them, and I'll, if they're relevant as well, I'll pose them towards Ken, and we'll get him on and just see what he's got to deliver as well. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So welcome to the Daily Show with Matty B, episode 94 with Ken Blackman. We're talking about sex and connection. There's Maria in the background, cheering and hollering. We all love a bit of sex and connection, no doubt. Here comes the magic. Hello, Miss Austin. Mr. Schroeder. All right, Kenny, just connecting now. Adding. Says it's adding. Seems to be taking its time. Okay. Add.
All right.
Mr. Blackman in the house.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We should warn your audience. This is basically our first meeting, getting to know each other. So we'll be doing it publicly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's in the past the conversations I've had like this have actually been really, really cool. It's sort of what I've found as well is that I've sort of met people and got to know them online in this sort of a forum and in this space. And then afterwards gotten offline and gone and done a bit more research. Like I've already done a bit of research in you already, but it's sort of, on one hand, it's sort of, you'd think it would sort of calm the nerves. But on the other hand, I've found that when I've actually spoken to someone and just been really wowed by who they are and what's going on, I've held more tension and more nerves in coming into this as well. So I don't know. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, but yeah, it is what it is. So I don't doubt we're going to have a bit of fun anyway. But
totally.
Mate, thank you for joining me as well. And
my pleasure.
Sitting over there in Las Vegas, yeah?
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, it's just starting to warm up here.
Beautiful. Yeah, nice. I'm on the sunny coast, and it is sunny and it's beautiful. So it's like this almost all year round, other than the torrential downpours that do come. But mate, have you been to Australia before?
I haven't. It's on my list. So
yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out.
Well, there's plenty of space over here for you, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've coached people in Australia actually.
Yeah,
I've had clients there. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, mate, for those that haven't had the privilege of meeting you as well, just like myself, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, so these days I'm calling myself a sex and connection coach because that seems to be the most really what I do. Like I work with couples, I help them have a great love life. But really, between me and you and your audience, what I really do is just help couples have connection with each other. There's really two things that couples are facing these days. One is it's hard to even believe in the institution of like committed coupledom these days. Like, is that even a thing anymore? Right. Right. And so, but there are couples out there who want to make it work, and they're going to have a different set of rules than the rules that we inherited from the 1950s, because we're not Ward and June Cleaver anymore, So I help couples figure out I get into their brain, like we open up the hood and I get on their page of how they see the world and what they're experiencing, everything that's working about the relationship, everything that's not working about the relationship. And then I help them understand themselves. I help them understand each other, and I help them create a relationship that's actually designed to get better over time. So that's the gist of it. And a lot of it has to do with, the power dynamics are different these days, right? Women are stepping up into power. I get a lot of couples where she's really starting to be successful, or she's just got a level of confidence or something like that. Some form of power that supposedly is not conducive to relationships. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, you just have to figure out a different way that you guys are going to relate with each other.
Yeah, definitely. So. Okay. And so how long have you been doing this for now?
I think I'm in my 19th year now. I've been saying my 18th year, but I think I'm actually in my 19th year of doing this now. So full time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Fantastic. Experienced campaigner.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And can we go back and share a little bit about, like where you're from, what your sort of mentality was like as a kid growing up and in that space, and a bit of that journey that sort of led you on this path?
Yeah, let's see. Well, I was a child of the 1960s and early 70s in Berkeley, California, which was a very interesting place to be in the 1960s because it was a hotbed of a lot of stuff that was happening. Like, I don't know how much of the history you or your audience knows, but People's Park, there was like the first clashes between liberal hippie students and the police, right? It was the first time that the police needed to be brought in, tear gas, all that stuff. Like, I was 3 years old when all that was happening in my backyard.
Yeah, wow.
So that and I grew up relatively happy. We were latchkey kids. So, mom and dad divorced, mom worked. So me and my brother and sister were kind of free to roam, You would never see that today, but that was kind of the background that I had. Okay. Fell into computers and got a really good job in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
So I was successful by most measures, but my relationships with women were terrible. Like, I had no idea how to relate with women at all, and I needed to learn. Okay. And my journey, my process of learning how to actually have a healthy relationship with a woman is what set me on this journey. I was like, I want this. It transformed me so much. I decided to leave my successful career in computers and do this full time. So
I'd imagine that'd be pretty prevalent in Silicon Valley.
Oh yeah, like I wasn't that much different from my friends. We were all geeky, nerdy guys who lived in our logic brain. We lived in our rational brain, and you have to be able to feel another human being in order to have a relationship. Number one. Number two, women were aliens. Like, I had no idea. Like, all I knew about women really was this kind of caricature, this kind of projection that I had of them. So I thought, well, this must be like a video game where, if I figure out the right moves in the right order, then I'll get the reward, right? Like, I had no concept of actual human connection, right?
Yeah.
So once all of that shifted for me personally, it was such an epiphany that I thought, I've learned something that I know other people they may not have the same struggles that I do, but there's some things about what it means to be connected to another human being and the nutrient that we're actually hungry for, right?
Yeah.
Human connection is a nutrient. And so I just thought, I want other people to experience what I'm experiencing.
Yeah. Well, it was I think the German army that took a whole heap of babies away to create an army of soldiers that just died. Most of them died just because they had no physical touch after they were born.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's full on. So can you share that story then about that epiphany that you really feel you had that was really the catalyst for understanding this?
Yeah. So there's I've told this story a bunch of different ways. But basically what happened was I was looking around for, you know, I'm successful. You know, I've been doing this for a while, but there's this one area of my life that's just not up to the same level as the rest of my life. What am I going to do about this? Like, am I going to learn to dance? Am I going to learn to basket weave? Like, what am I going to do in order to like what's going to get me, what's going to get me connected with women? And I had a very superficial idea of what, you know, like, just show me what to do, just teach me what to do and I'll do it. Right. Yeah. Of course, that's not going to work. But what did happen was that I took classes in sex, basically, and how a woman's body works, right, in female orgasm. Yeah. And it turned out I was good at that. So beautiful. So there was this period of time during which, you know, I actually was better with a woman's genitals than I was actually having a conversation with her. Yeah, and I got to the place where, I mean, from that point of view, I thought, I always presumed that sex with a beautiful woman was going to be the thing that was going to make me happy, because that was all I knew. But actually what it was the connection that I started to have with women. That was actually where the juice was. That was actually where I was actually getting the thing I was hungry for. Mm-hmm. And that was a revelation. So it wasn't just learning what women want. It was actually dispelling the misconception I had about what I wanted, what was actually, you know, going to be gratifying for me. And it wasn't, it was sex, but it wasn't sex. It was actually the connection that takes place in the bedroom, right? And the connection that takes place. So getting to know women at a deep level, letting them get to know me, learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to have feelings, all of that stuff, right? So,
and that goes almost directly against the way that, generally speaking, that men are brought up, and the way to think and the way to feel and the way to be is to guard your emotions, don't open up and be vulnerable,
right?
And just go on and find girls to fuck as a young kid as well, like growing up. So there's sort of this notion of just getting a load off, or just, you know, doing that sort of that process in order to get a notch on the belt sometimes as well. But it is pretty profound when you do really start getting that deeper connection. And would you agree that it stems from your, it directly correlates to the level at which you're willing to open up and be vulnerable as well?
Oh, totally. Yeah. 100%. You know, it's funny because, you know, there was a movie, I don't remember that. Oh, it was called My Fair Lady back in the 1940s or something, right? Okay. And one of the most famous songs was, "Why Can't a Woman Be More Like a Man?" Right? Like, we, as men, not only do we pride ourselves on being the rational one in the relationship, but we think if women were just more like us, you know, more rational or more, you know, whatever, then the relationship would be easy. But that's actually not true, because relationships are different from everything else we do, in that the reason we're there is for how it feels, right? So we have to be willing to open up our feelings, because we're there to feel something. We're there because of how it feels. Yeah. And so there's a part of our brain that we have to tap into in order to actually get the thing that we're there to have. And I know so many guys who, just like you said, you know, they have an ease in getting women into bed, but they're not happy. They're not actually enjoying it anymore, and they don't know why.
Yeah. Well, that's the like living in the outer world, and I think that even just personal development in general is still a pretty small industry in comparison to the population. And so people, a lot of them haven't even thought about thinking or started to self-assess and analyze what's going on within them. So then to actually, it's all just based on this outer world. Like, how can I create this outer image that I feel needs to be there to fulfill me or to make me happy, but then not recognizing why, or not knowing why it's not working.
Right. Because there's a whole part of our brain that's shut down, and it's that part of our brain that actually wants, you know, that is going to, I actually tell guys they're going to have to actually learn some of the skill. Like, women aren't crazy. They're not, you know, they're not mysterious. They're not, any of those things. They're actually very sophisticated in an arena that we are very underdeveloped. And so a lot of times what I say to a guy is you're going to have to learn some of the skills that she has in order to play at her level, in order to have the things that you actually are hungry for. This is the reason, the real reason that you're there. So
that being
in my
emotional intelligence and vulnerability
yeah,
and opening up, is that, yeah.
yep, totally. Emotional intelligence, vulnerability, opening up, but also a willingness to feel your feelings in a healthy way, because we as men are trained not to trust our feelings. Like, we pride ourselves on all the opportunities in life to feel good or to feel bad or to be upset or to be angry or to be jealous or to be, all these things. We're taught to avoid those feelings. And so, like, hey, if I take time to actually feel those feelings, that's gonna really mess with my productivity. Like, I got stuff to do. I got shit to do. So I don't have time to have those kinds of feelings. Like, I'm rational, right? Like, all that stuff is highly irrational. Well, no, you're actually going to have to notice that you have feelings. It's weird, but men and women are different. So I'm going to make a generalization. And I always get into trouble when I make these generalizations. So insert the disclaimer here about how I know this is just a generalization. It's not all, but now I'm going to go ahead and make a generalization. And the generalization is, when men and women lie about their emotions, they do it for different reasons. So, like, you take the example of, you say to your woman, "Are you upset?" And she says, "No," right? Or are you angry? No. Like something like that, right? So she knows she's having a feeling. She knows she's not supposed to have a feeling. She knows she's not going to be, her feelings aren't going to be accepted. So of course she's going to deny that she's having a feeling. Mm-hmm. With men it's different. And this confuses women, because women think that men are lying about their feelings for the same reason they are. But actually what's happening is, when a man says he isn't having a feeling, he may not even be aware that he's having that feeling. Like when she says, "Are you jealous?" and he says no, it's because he honestly doesn't think that he gets jealous, and so he's not jealous. Or when she says, "Are you angry?" and he says no, he literally may not be aware that he's having that feeling. And it may literally be the case that she is more aware of the feelings that he's having than he is.
Yeah, wow.
So it's actually, there's research on this, that there's a difference. I just saw a YouTube video about this by a researcher. There's a difference between having a feeling and feeling that feeling. This is his language. That if you put someone in an MRI who's angry, but they aren't, like, consciously aware that they're angry, there's one brain region that is associated with the emotion. But when you actually allow yourself to feel the feeling, that's a different brain region. To be consciously aware that you're having a feeling is literally a different brain region. So I only found that out recently. I've had the languaging about what it means to feel your feelings, but you have to feel your feelings. You have to give yourself permission and recognize that healthy emotions are good. Like, you don't want to be all, you don't want to get vindictive. You don't want to cause wreckage, but you do want to have a broad range of healthy emotions.
And really allow yourself to experience them, which is part of the beauty of being a human being and having this gift of life. And it's something that I've personally really only been consciously practicing for maybe 9 months, not even, of specifically going, okay, I'm going to allow myself to feel the feelings and sit with them and be okay with them. And it's almost like an observer, like coming from like an observer point of view, where now it's that place where I can feel the highs and the lows, but sort of almost, sounds weird, not remove myself from it, but almost remove my analytical brain from what I'm feeling, just to allow my body to go through that process. And also I think it's because now I've got that awareness and that understanding of the rhythm of life, and that this will pass, or there is going to be a shift and a transformation from this.
Totally.
And it is healthy as well. So it gives you that permission to sit with it and not feel like it's like this is how life is going to be forever.
And there, to go even a step further, there's this intimate connection between your willingness to do exactly what you just described and having really good relationships with the opposite sex, being able to actually experience the joy of being with another human being, or, you know, like it just makes the relationship so much more amazing when you actually have the capacity to savor it, to be able to feel, to allow yourself to be able to feel. And the other thing that gives you access to is an incredible intuition, because there's a lot of communication that takes place at the emotional level. And I get so many guys who say, just like I said this earlier, but like, just tell me what to do. Like, I'm willing to do it. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And he's wondering why that's not possible. And the other thing he's trying to do is trying to turn it into an algorithm. He's trying to turn it into a formula. Now I know when she gets this particular expression on her face, that means this. And when that happens, that means I do this. And it turns into this very mechanical formula. That's never, ever, ever, ever going to work. Yeah. But he does have an intuitive sense that he's not aware of. And so if I can get him to tune into that intuition, like I give him all kinds of examples, and all of a sudden he starts to realize, oh, you know what? Actually, I did have a hunch about that, but I didn't think you were supposed to trust those kinds of hunches, right? And so
powerful.
When the guy is in his rational brain with his partner, and I say that you need to turn that part of your brain off, because that part of your brain isn't going to give you the answers that you need. But you do have intuition that can tell you in real time exactly what to do. And it's amazing. Like I see these guys start to light up with, all of a sudden, to his partner, it seems like he's got ESP, and he's like, how did you know? And he's like, I don't know how I knew, I just knew. And that's exactly where I don't want him to know how he knows. I don't want him to analyze how he knew. I want him to just to learn how to operate from intuition without trying to analyze the signals, because his intuitive brain is really smart. So,
and that is so beautifully put, and correlates so well with, like you said, with this show, and believing in yourself, expressing yourself authentically and evolving consciously. And that first part of believing in yourself is that self of the collective that you are a part of and connected to everything. And then expressing yourself authentically in that space of, okay, I believe, and actually that trusting in what is actually coming up is the hardest fucking part. From my experience, the hardest fucking part. Yeah. Because your rational mind might be going, all right, this is the formula and the path that I can see in front of me that I can rationalize and logically make sense to me. But this thing that's going on within me is saying, do this, which there's no logic and rationale around. So to completely disassociate with the logic and rationale and go towards what is actually feeling like the path to take without any logic or rationale around it, it's so counterintuitive for everyone, not just guys, but for everyone. That's so counterintuitive. But I think, like you said, just when you can transform that and to start building out little bits of evidence and a little bit more evidence, you get to that point where, in my experience as well, where you've got so much evidence geared towards, like, that's just like what you're feeling and what you're coming from your heart space is what it is. It is like magic. It is like you got that psychic ability. It's fucking crazy. It's really cool.
Yeah. We're very similar in that regard, because there's been some turning points in my life where all of the reasonable evidence told me that I should do A, and I just had this intuitive hit, like this voice telling me to do B, and just the decision to trust that voice, just the amount of courage it took to listen to the intuitive voice rather than the reasonable, rational voice. Like it's served me so often. Like, I really learned the lesson that is when I get that download, it seems like it's coming from outside of me, man, listen to that, because that is,
Yeah.
you know,
So that's what I look at, movies, and like the hero's journey we were talking about earlier, and I recognize that as being sort of like the trickster in the movie that tries to veer the hero off course, but that the hero takes some courageous action towards staying on the path and following what's true to them, and it really is an epically courageous move to do that and to trust in that, and that's really what hard work and strength and courage and bravery and heroism, like those are the moments where that stuff shines through, and you feel it within yourself when you do it, and then you're on that path, and those synchronicities start to formulate in front of you, and the path just starts to form as you're taking every next step. That's when you're like, it just blows you away.
Yeah. I'll give you the scene in the movie that from what you're talking about, and this is going to seem like a weird scene, but there's this scene in Star Wars, one of the early Star Wars movies, where so Luke just fought the snow monster, right? And the snow monster really messed him up. He's lying. He's about to die in the snow. It's getting cold. It's getting dark. It's going to get to 300 below zero. He's going to die. Like, they're out looking for him, but the visibility is like 2 feet or something. There's no way he's going to live. This is it. He's going to die in the snow, right? Yeah. And then an apparition of Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, boom, and says, Luke, you're going to go to the Dagobah system. You're going to study with Yoda. And he's the Jedi Master who taught me. And now Luke is dying. He's in the snow. He's face down. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm going to die, right? Like, I'm going to die. So that often is what my intuitive voice sounds like. Like, I think I'm in dire trouble. Like, I'm in the midst of, like, this is it. Everything is collapsing. My life is going to end. And my intuitive voice just comes along and says, you know, you're going to have this amazing thing happen to you. You have to do this crazy thing, you know, like just do this ridiculous thing. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yes.
But every time I listen to that, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like the number of holes that I've gotten myself out of that I didn't think I'd ever get myself out of, right? And the number of turns my life has taken, and the number of amazing experiences that I've had in life, just because I was willing to trust something, you know,
So can you give us an example of one of the things that one of those experiences that really had a profound effect and just blew you away?
Yeah. So, you know, I talked about, like studying at a sex school, right? And then I decided to quit my job and study full time, right? So this is it. My, like, teaching people how to have a great orgasm is now my literal day job, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm working with my teachers. I'm studying with my mentors. I'm working with students myself.
learn to get paid to do what you love.
Right? And it's great, right? But after like 9 years I was with them. So I was very deeply trained. Like, I was one of the most highly trained people that they had ever produced, right? But I had come to the conclusion that I didn't want to teach alongside of them. I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I didn't know what that was going to look like. So it was a major leap of faith to decide with nothing, right? Like, it wasn't like I had a lot of savings saved up. I didn't have, I basically didn't have a backup plan built in. And I just decided that it was time for me to leave and figure out what I was going to do. And I left pretty much literally with nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have anything. But that was a leap of faith that was necessary. And then I had a whole new set of chapters in my life, right? I worked for an organization, a consortium of coaches, and we did major work, you know? And so, like, there's been turns like that where the logical thing to do would have been to put in my backup plan, to, get my savings together, to have my runway, to have people lined up who were going to support me. I didn't have any of that. I just knew that it was time for me to leave, that I came to the realization that my life wasn't with teaching with this particular group. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
and thank God, because my life is 1,000 times better than it would have been if I had stayed there. Right. So,
So was it about 10 years now since then?
Yeah, it's been about 10 years since then. So it was 2000. It was around, let's see, it was 1999 when I started. It was 2007 when I left. So 12 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Awesome. And this is beautiful. I'll hope to join you on stage in Vegas when we over there and doing our tour as well. But the one that we're doing here in Australia, the Mental Wealth Summit, this is exactly on par with that as well. It's that we want to create change and impact the community at large, but it starts with the individual. And the key to it all is really tapping into that space and getting in touch with that intuitive nature that we're all got access to. And because with mental health and any sort of disease that's sort of coming up, let alone thriving in the bedroom and in your relationships, that it's, from what I've seen and the evidence that keeps piling up, is that's the key to it all as well. So I think it's amazing the work you're doing, and especially in the space as well.
Yeah, we're talking the same language here, brother.
100%. So let's talk about sex.
Okay, let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby. So you take the lead on this a little bit. Like it's your forte, and I'll be intrigued and come up with questions. But yeah, you take the lead a little bit. Okay.
Again, there's 1,000 ways to start to step into the conversation. There's 1,000 things to say. Like I could talk for months about this subject, but let's start here. We know that the most important erogenous zone is this, right? Like they talk about the erogenous zones, and we know the most important erogenous zone is your mind, right? But what I'm seeing these days is a lot of people are too much in their head, or too all about, the mind, and they forget the body. So a lot of times what I'm doing with couples these days is having them get to know their bodies, like having them get reacquainted with their bodies, how their bodies respond. So so that each of them is masterful with their partner's genitals, like just in general, are you masterful with your partner's genitals? Do you know how to create pleasure in your partner's body, right? And from the place of knowing how your bodies operate, just at the level of what feels good to what feels good to the body, what feels good to the clitoris, what feels good to what feels good, and then use that as a basis to build a better love life, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And it would be so case sensitive as well. Like every single person I would imagine, I mean, with every sort of healing and coaching and whatever we're doing, but you've got two parties that are connecting at different levels. What's the sort of approach that you take when you have a new couple walk through the door?
Well, you're right. So on one level, everyone is unique, right? Like I talk about this. One of the things I say is there's no such thing as being a good lover. What there is being specifically good with the particular person that you're with. There isn't anyone who's good with everybody. Like if I'm with a new partner, I'm gonna learn all over again, right? Like people come to me and they pay me a lot of money to learn sex, but I don't pride myself on I don't have any ego attached to it. Yeah. So if I don't know, this is going to sound weird, but if I'm with someone and I can tell that I don't know what I'm doing, I don't have any ego around. I'll say, can you give me some guidance here? Like what feels good to you? Like, give me some guidance. Yeah. And I know a lot of people who would never, like they have so much ego attached to it. That would be very difficult for them to do. Well, that's that is how you get to be a good lover. That is how you're a good lover, is your willingness to get to know the specifics of the person that you're with.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you have to start there.
Well,
So
that's 101 in any class. Is the first day you walk into a new classroom, the teacher says, all right, students, there's no silly questions. If you don't understand anything or you need me to clarify something, put your hand up and ask. But for some reason in the bedroom, and I was guilty, like I was shy and embarrassed, and a lot of time didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing, or didn't want to feel judged, and shied away from asking the question, but also then sharing what was good for me as well.
Right. And you know what's funny about this? Like, talking during sex is fun. Talking during sex can be amazing, right? Talking about what you're experiencing can be fantastic. And I'm not just talking about dirty talk, like talking dirty to turn your partner on or to be turned on. I'm talking about actually talking about what you're experiencing. Like, what does that feel like? Does that feel good to you? Or talking about what you're experiencing. Like, there's such profound experiences that we can have. Like, what is possible in the bedroom for us to experience is so, in some ways, beyond words, but just so profound. And to try and come up with the words to describe what you're feeling, it's kind of like a sommelier, where, you know, if you speak to someone who's really well versed in wine, there's a whole vocabulary of words to describe those experiences, to describe what wine tastes like, what the texture is, like there's thousands and thousands of words, and all those descriptions have kind of been crowdsourced. So really, when it comes to sex, what we're doing is we're talking about something that fundamentally can't actually be described, but we're just going to come up with metaphors like, wow, I just felt electricity, or I just felt heat, or I felt tingles, or I felt something really syrupy, or, like to actually describe the sensation that you're feeling. Yeah. And all of a sudden, once you start doing that, it's amazing. You start to become aware of how much both of you are feeling the same thing at the same time. Like, wow, I just felt a wave of heat. I felt that too. Wow. Like, I had no idea we were both experiencing the same thing,
I find once the level of intellectual connection that is created before getting into the bedroom, that intimacy then is a direct correlation to the level of which we're connected intellectually as well. And it's almost like sex isn't sex. Sex is just another level of communication between two people, and that intimacy, because you can get so intimate like emotionally and verbally as well, and with your body energies. But then when you do connect physically as well, it's just an extension then of that as well. And it's like you said, it's full on to try and explain it. You almost can't, you can't put it into words really to give it justice. But it's a profound sort of experience, and that's again something that's been pretty new. And again, maybe the last year and a half, where I've really it's that process of allowing myself to feel things, is to lean into that connection and feel that connection as well. Totally.
And they're very related. All those things are very related to each other. And actually for maybe the last 6 years or so, I've mostly worked with couples, like committed couples. And there's no reason why, if you're in a committed relationship, there's no reason why your sex life can't continue to get better and better year after year. There isn't any reason why your relationship can't continue to get better year after year. And there isn't any reason why your sex can't be better than anything that you could go out and find. Like the relationship that you can create, and really the sex that you create with a partner that you're partnered with, the sex that you create can be better than any sex that you can go out and find, because you can actually get to know each other. You can actually start to have connection-based sex, right? Connection-based sex where the connection that you have as human beings plays into the sex that you're having, right? That's the thing that's missing from so many people's love life where they're having disconnected sex, right? It's only, now I'm going to go in the other direction because I was talking about the body. Now I'm going the other direction and saying if it's only about the body, there's something definitely, you're missing out on what's possible. Because that connection you have with that person feeds into, it gets to the place where if you have a secret that you have, or like something you haven't told your partner, like something that you haven't had the courage to talk to them about, that's going to impact your sex life. It gets to that level, right?
Yeah.
So connection-based sex, and you end up having to tell the truth because otherwise it just feels too awful to keep those secrets,
Yeah, it's the words that we speak is the final tip of that communication chain. It's like even doing sales work, you learn that 6% of your communication is words, 33% is tone of voice, and the rest of it's body language. But it really is when you're that intuitive with one another and have that sort of that closeness, that there's no hiding stuff. Just because it hasn't been verbalized doesn't mean that you both don't know what the fuck is going on or that something is there. That's pretty profound. I want to speak generally and go back to sort of general talk, just touch on and give people a bit of stable datum or help them tap into this as well. So what are some of the general differences that you see in couples that who don't have that ascending connection and sex and sexual relationship compared to the ones that you work with that really do just continue to get better and better over time?
Yeah, it's the most common. I'll just talk about the most common one, and it's pretty simple. So you start out, things feel good, like it's great. The chemistry is great. The communication is great. And then something will happen and it won't feel good. And then there'll be something that you just decide not to say, right? Just something like you can't bring yourself to, you're just going to let it go and just let it go, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then there's this tiny little blockage between the two of you. Like I used to pride myself on letting things go and just letting water go under the bridge. And I found out it was like
water off a duck's back.
Right. I figured out. I thought that was a superpower of mine for having great relationships. But
that is perfect for men as well who want to like constrain their feelings. It's just It's beautiful. It really supports that.
Totally right. But the research says that actually the couples that do the best are the couples that don't let stuff slide. They actually talk about the stuff that's bugging them. They don't. They actually will bring it up and they'll talk it, and then they'll talk it all the way through, right?
Yeah.
So going back to my example, just this little thing, that you let go, and little by little, if you keep doing that, there's just this wall between you, and you don't feel as close to your partner, because there's just, it can be one big thing, or it can just be too many little things, and all of a sudden, without even knowing how you got there, all of a sudden, you feel like you're not as close as you were before. You don't have the closeness anymore. So the thing to do is to talk about the stuff that you're like, take the most difficult thing that you're like, absolutely, I am not talking to my partner about this one, and talk to them about it. Right.
Yeah.
And get all the way to the other side of it, right? Stay connected to enough that you can just like actually feel what it feels like to talk through and see how much closer you are after you get all the way to the other side of it. And it's so worth it, right? And so the couples that are doing well and on that ascending track, there's several things I could list, but the single, like if you're not taught, if you've got like in the arena of your relationship, there's these landmines that you just avoid, then you're on a trajectory to not have the relationship go downhill progressively.
Yeah, that's profound. before starting the Daily B Show, I put together a 30-day go live challenge, because I got challenged by my coach to just start getting online and doing videos and opening up. And I didn't want to do it on my own. So I put together a challenge for everyone to come and join me. But it was just that, like my saying that the mantra I gave to myself was, do whatever makes your asshole sweat, or do whatever makes you uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
it was that. It's like, all right, I was literally spending my days, and still do spend my days, seeking out that makes me uncomfortable. And as soon as I find that thing that makes me sweat, it's like, boom, I know that's what I go towards. And in relationships, obviously it's exactly the same as that. It's like, this scares the shit out of me. Yeah. But again, that authentic expression as well, and believing in yourself. The best way that you can give yourself to the world and express yourself to the world is by being your true, honest and authentic self. And sometimes that means having hard conversations. It means offending people. It means hurting people's feelings. And that's a part of it. Like, we're not here to wrap everyone in cotton wool, and they've got lessons to draw from us and from our experiences as well, and from the pain that we bestow on them. It's not about being malicious, but allowing them to go through that journey and get those lessons as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But keep in mind, it's all of those things, but it's also being like taking the difficult step of saying, being the first one to say, I love you, right? Being the first one to admit that you're having feelings that may not be reciprocated, right? That also is hard, right?
Putting yourself on the line to be rejected.
Totally. Yeah. That falls in that category too. Cause don't wait for your partner to give all the signals that they're going to say yes to your marriage proposal before you do it. Like, take a risk. If you're feeling it, let your passion be the one that bring your passion to the relationship, bring your passion to the table, and say, I don't know if you're feeling this. I just need to be honest with you and tell you this is what I'm feeling. Yeah. And
it's so fun. That's so liberating, and it's like the butterflies. It's just getting me excited thinking about that stuff.
Right. Right. White knuckles.
I've got Eleni Shaw, who just commented it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. I'm looking forward to the day I enter into a conscious relationship where we are brave enough to talk through difficult stuff to bring each other closer. Now, I'll chuck my 2 cents in first and then let you take it from there. Is what I get from that is an opportunity to really start having those, what should you call it, brave enough to talk through difficult stuff. So it sounds like that there would be an opportunity there to just open up and talk about difficult stuff with the self first, like having that relationship with yourself, and looking forward to having that conscious relationship makes me feel like there's a sense of lacking a conscious relationship, which essentially starts with ourselves first. And then when that is fulfilled and there's not that yearning or that sense of lack, then again, that's the synchronicities that start sort of falling into place is just, you've got it then. Like, it's all about just having that feeling of having a conscious relationship, but not feeling like it needs to be from someone or filled, that void to be filled by another person. But yeah, where would you go with that, and how does that fit?
Well, first of all, I would totally agree with you, right? Like, there's a lot of ways in which we lament the state of our relationship because over there everything so 100%, like there's a lot of self-work that needs to happen in order to be the kind of, like, the instant I became someone who was capable of having their kind of relationship that I said I wanted, the instant I had done the work to actually be someone who could step into that amazing relationship that I claimed I wanted, they were lined up. Like, they were lined up to like, it happened so quickly. So I agree with you, like doing the self-work, but there's something else that I want to say specifically, which is, in your interactions with people, be the one who sets the example of talking at that level, right?
Yes.
Even if they don't, that isn't any reason for you not to. I said earlier that I mostly work with couples, but when I'm working with an individual, there's this thing. The reason I don't call myself a dating coach is because I don't like, I don't teach dating skills. I think dating skills is one thing and relationship skills is something else. So when I'm working with someone, an individual who wants to be in a relationship, I work with them on their relationship skills. So when they go on a date, I have them do a lot of the same things that I expect them to do when they're in relationship. So they're setting the standard right from the get-go. There isn't dating and then relationship. There's just, I'm going to have a moment of human connection with this human being,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's less
Yeah.
about how you're dressed and all the preening that we do in order to look good. It's at the end of the night, it's going to be, did you have a moment of connection? So be the one who takes the risk and establishes a moment of intimate connection with this on this first date, right? Just do it, because that's going to set the tone. It's gonna show them who you actually are and give them permission to bring their mask down. And so often when you do that, the other person's like, oh, hey, there's a real human being over there. I can let down my mask and we can be like two actual human beings having this moment together without the facade, right?
And if you're coming from an authentic space and truly, like, when you really believe in yourself and having that authenticity in every moment, that will just happen as well. It'll just come out in you. And also, I think that another one of the benefits of really being so brutally open and honest with people as well, and with yourself, is it's like a vetting process for the people that aren't on board with you or have different principles or different values, or don't see the world the same way and don't buy into your notions. Then they will fall away in a beautiful way, and you love them from a distance, and that's fine. But also, you'll know for certain the people that do stick around are there because they believe in you to your core, because that's all you're showing them. Right.
And if you like yourself, a hell of a lot more people are going to like you. They will take your cue about how you feel about yourself. If you have a lot of low self-esteem or self-doubt, you will broadcast to other people to feel that way about you. If you like yourself, like genuinely feel good about yourself, you look yourself in the mirror and you actually like who's over there, then people are going to hop on board with that viewpoint that you're a pretty, bomb ass,
Yeah, boy. And that's going into all the universal laws of attraction and all that sort of stuff, which it all ties in. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got Eleni, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, hun, but said, I guess where my comment came from was not having had one in previous relationships, knowing now what I want, what I'm worth, and what I won't settle for. Okay.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, that's super important. Super important.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, cool. So where to from here? This is bang on. I'm really liking this, and I think it's so relatable too. Like, relationships is what life's made up of. Whether you're in a loving, like a partnership, whether you're dating, whether it's friendships as well, just with your mates or your girlfriends, or even colleagues as well. Like, it's all transferable and translatable. Like, having that intuition, that connection with the people you're around, and being open and honest.
Yeah, and I really want to invite your audience to pick up on what you said earlier. Like, if you start, just research emotional intelligence. That is so key, and it is so, the more we move into technology, the more important it's going to be that we as human beings stay connected to our emotional intelligence, because that's going to be the thing that actually distinguishes us from the machines, right? And it's the thing that's going to be if they ever replicate, it's going to be the last thing they replicate. And we're built for it. We're built for emotional intelligence. So we just haven't been trained in it. So
well, yeah, when you go down that line, and there's the scientific route and the analytical personal development journey that sort of people might start on, but then science and logic can only go so far until you need to sort of jump that ship into the unknown or the metaphysical and the spiritual realm. And and when you go down that path and start to explore, you really recognize how primitive we really are still. Like technology might be expanding and we might be fooling ourselves by thinking we're really intelligent beings, but the capacity that we have within us is being reflected back at us by the phones that with the GPSs on them and the signaling to message at a distance and all these different capacities that, well, evolution will take its own path, but I dare say there's some crazy powers within us, and just scratching the scratch of the surface is profound in itself, which is, really awesome to hear what you're doing as well, because I've only just got into the sort of the coaching space and life coaching, and I've still got a lot of practical hours to put towards it, and I've got a lot of people to meet and a lot of experiences to go through to come, because it is really new for me. But just having these types of conversations and continuously, like we said before, just getting reaffirmed the experiences that I've had, the conversations that I'm having with people, that we're on the right path and that it is the way it is, and we do have that infinite potential within us. It's liberating, and it's a profound way to be, and just like a knowing to have within us. And it really does make life's challenges that used to be overwhelming and unbearable, water off a duck's back almost.
Yeah, totally.
In the process of allowing ourselves to feel those feelings and experience them as well.
Yeah. And I love the approach that you're taking. Like, I don't know, like, I'm only starting to get to know you, but so far of what I know of your journey and what your plans are, like, I think you're doing a really good job. And I think you're going to set a standard that will set a bar. It'll set a bar for other people, but also show them that it's possible to just not let stuff get in the way, and actually create the life that you want and do the things that you want. And, like you strike me as someone who's simultaneously very ambitious, but you're not coming from a place of ambition. You're super chill and super like laid back, but your goals, anyone else looking at them would say, well, that's very ambitious. But you're just like, you're super chill in how you're doing it. Like this, it's no big deal. This is what I want to do. I'm just not going to let all the worries get in the way. And that's such a good example for people. So I commend you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess to touch on my mentality around that, and again, this is pretty new, and something that's really allowed me to sit in the present moment and be okay with the way things are, and allow me to feel what I'm going through in each moment. Is I was really confused about setting goals, but then people telling me to live in the moment. Oh, I don't know. Like, there's this sort of disconnect. Like, how does this work? Like, which person am I going to listen to? Because the people that sell me on that are really articulate and eloquent in their language, but then the people that sell me on this as well are, but then really coming to that own experience and realization that the benefits of having really clear goals, big, seemingly ridiculous goals, no matter how big my imagination goes, it's nowhere near the capacity of our potential to start with. So thinking big is no more thinking big for me. I know that my big thinking is still thinking small, no matter how big I think. That's the first thing. So just having that there, and also the fact that when we think of the future, which we all do, we tend to like think rationally, or have this one or two trains of potentials that are out there. But no matter what way we're thinking about the future, it's all an illusory sort of state, like an imagination anyway. And there's from the worst of the worst scenario to the utopian potential, and every other infinite potential in between that could happen for us. So it's so illogical when you understand that, to even give a fuck about the future and put too much weight on it. So it's like, if I'm going to think of the future, I may as well think of it in the most grandiose utopian way possible and aim for that. But then understand that I have zero connection to it, and I'm not attached to that pathway whatsoever. And I'm completely in the present and in this moment, and just absolutely blown away by the magnitude of profundity that this whole single moment has, and like I said, infinite possibilities, right? So every single moment we are living has a one in an infinite chance of ever being in existence. So how fucking crazy is that? People get excited over winning a meat raffle at the local footy club. So I'm blown away in every moment. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I live my life that way as well. And you want to hear something? We're going to bring it full circle now. You want to hear how I learned that lesson? I learned that lesson in sex. And the way I learned that lesson is that, you know, if I've had, you know, an amazing experience with someone 10 times in a row, right? And the 11th time, I still have to show up and say, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm open to anything happening, because the most profound experiences, you know, so many people miss out on something that was really profound because it didn't match their expectations. So the best way to get into really amazing territory in sex is actually to drop your expectations, be open, because the best of what can happen in sex is better than anything that you can imagine. So if you at best have, if you're aiming for this, you know, the worst that could happen is you're disappointed, but actually the worst that can happen is there's something far beyond that you foreclosed on. So
so true.
Yep.
That's awesome. I learned it by taking acid, among other things.
All right. There you go.
Awesome. Ken, thank you so much for being here, for being yourself, and just, being open and expressing yourself like you have, and sharing your wisdom and your stories, your insights and experiences. I'm really looking forward to catching up in person and just to, continue our relationship and to continue to grow together.
Likewise.
Is there a last little nugget you'd like to drop on people, and also share where they can connect with you? I've tagged you in the link as well, but if people want to touch base, anyone that's in partnerships or even single that wants to reach out to you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, just email me at ken@kenblackman.com, and let's get a conversation started. And I'll also put a link to some of the articles that I've written.
Yeah, beautiful.
But if any of this inspires you, just email me and start a conversation.
Love it. And any last words of wisdom you'd like to drop on people as a parting message?
Be nice to each other.
You're a beautiful man. Thanks, guys, for watching. Ken, thank you again. And I don't even know when the next Daily Bee is going to be. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. I've got so much going on, but I'll let you guys know about it. So stay tuned. And brother, I look forward to catching up soon. See you all on the flip side.